How's it going, babe?
Going pretty good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm tired. It's the end of a long weekend, but I'm all right.
Let's set the scene real quick if people need to know. We're sitting in our living room. I'm cuddled under a blanket, which I've been for 2 days because last week at work was horrendous. And the animals are all around us. And we're just kind of enjoying a nice quiet day after we did some work outside today.
Right. And our dog is outside barking.
Because she loves to bark.
Yeah. Well, before we get into our episode today, let's talk about why we haven't had an episode for 2 weeks. So it started with a couple of weeks ago, I had a work trip. And it wasn't that it wasn't scheduled, but it was one of those work trips where I didn't know exactly when they were going to want me to go. And so it kind of came up almost kind of at the last minute, but it was a trip that I had to do. I got on a plane and went to Chicago, and then the next day went to Kansas City. Then the next day went to Omaha. And so that took up most of the week. And while I was on that trip, I got sick, and I still have a little bit of residual. I mean, I don't think it was anything more than just allergies and being tired or whatever, but that kind of took up 2 weeks of our time that I wasn't planning, or we weren't planning on, having to deal with. So that's why we had no episodes for 2 weeks. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. And then last weekend, we went to hang out with Bethany and Caleb in Knoxville and Crossville. And we were going to do a podcast with them, but we ended up just kind of hanging out and having fun, and never got around to pulling the microphones out to get one. But we'll eventually include them in our podcast too.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So that kind of catches everybody up as to why we didn't have an episode. So why don't we get into today's topic?
Welcome to Loving Our 25 to Life. I'm Heather.
And I'm Bo. Together we've been married over 25 years.
Yeah, baby!
And this is where we talk about life, love, and all the adventures we have had along the way.
Oh, wow.
Whether we're sharing stories from our marriage or taking you along one of our trips, we're here to reflect on how we've made it this far and where we are headed next.
So grab a seat, settle in, and let's dive into another episode of Loving Our 25 to Life. Okay, so today's topic is our Colorado trip. So why don't you start us off with setting the scene?
So I was going to college at William Carey in Hattiesburg, and you were living in Jackson,
Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi. And somehow I reconnected or connected with the college group because, as we've said in previous podcasts, from 6th grade until we ended up getting married, we either went to school together, or when we didn't go to school together, we went to church together, or when we quit going to the same church, we ended up working together at the same grocery store. So our paths were always crossing in one way or the other. And so I had not been going to your church, but somehow got interested in your college and career group at the church where you were. And they were going to Colorado on a ski trip, and I had never been skiing before. And so that was my sophomore year in college. It was in January of 96. And so I asked my mom and my dad if I could go, and they kind of helped me pay for it. And so we went to Breckenridge. Was it Breckenridge or Copper Mountain?
Copper Mountain.
Went to Copper Mountain, Colorado for a week, and we drove there with Dr. Sheffield and a few of our college and career people. And it was, gosh, what was it, like 20 hours of driving there in the snow and the ice?
It was in 96?
Yeah, it was 96.
And there was a southeast storm going through. So what I remember, it took us over 40 hours to drive there, but there was there was an ice storm all the way from Jackson, Mississippi, where we started, all the way to Dallas, Texas. We were driving on ice. Like, it was icy roads. And I mean, anybody from the South will know that, generally speaking, the South isn't the best at always having prepared roads and everything. So I remember it took extra long to get there because we were driving through basically a blizzard from Jackson through Dallas.
So we I was just kind of getting my friend Krista. We were pretty good friends at the time. She and her boyfriend, who I think they're married now, Andy, went, and Bo was there, and there were a few other people that we were friends with that went. But at the time, I had a boyfriend back in Mississippi who was one of our baseball players at William Carey, and I thought I was going to miss him so much, but I ended up not really missing him at all. But anyway, so we get to Colorado, and I remember it was really pretty, and it was powder snow. So like you would step in the snow and it would come all the way up to your knees. And so I also remember renting all the equipment, and I had to start on the bunny slopes because I'd never skied before. So you had like a half a day of training and bunny slopes and learning how to stop and blah, blah, blah. And so I'm on the bunny slopes doing all the things while everybody else is on like the black and the green and the whatever. It's by level of difficulty, and I think black was the hardest. But so on like day or two or three, I just thought I was good enough because, I picked things up pretty quickly. So I thought I was good enough to go on one of the big hills, and Bo offered to go with me. And I said, well, yeah, that'll work. It was toward the end of the day because they were probably a couple of hours away from closing the ski lift down or whatever. So we get on the ski lift, we go up there, and we start heading down the hill. And Bo was pretty good at skiing. Like he did okay, but I kept falling. And so I'm on this hill and I keep falling. And then one time when I fell, because like I said, it was powder snow, so it wasn't like packed snow, it was powder snow. But one time I fell and my ski came off and I couldn't find it. And so Bo's already halfway down the mountain. I'm up there by myself looking for my ski, and I keep falling and I can't stay up. And I start panicking because I feel like I'm just going to die on this mountain. And he's down toward the bottom just saying, just stand up, look for your ski. And I'm like, I'm trying to. And it was just very dramatic. And I thought I was going to die on that hill, but he starts trying to walk up to me sideways, so he doesn't slide back down the mountain. And I don't remember did you ever make it up to me, or did I finally just find my ski and meet you halfway?
No, what happened was I was about halfway up, and somebody that was on the ski lift looked down and saw where your ski was and told you where it was so that you could go over and find it.
That's right. So I went and got my ski.
By the way, you were not in knee-deep snow. You were in waist-deep snow.
Yeah, I just remember I couldn't hardly navigate, and I kept falling, and when I would fall, all I could see was white. So I finally made it down the hill. And another thing I remember about that trip is one time you and I were waiting on the ski lift,
mm-hmm.
and we were sitting there talking, and I had looked away for a minute, I guess kind of looking to see where the ski lift was coming from. And when I looked back, Bo was gone, and I didn't know where he went. And I looked down, and he had fallen. I don't even know what happened. It was just it was almost like a sitcom or a comic strip or something, because it was like 1 second he was there and the next second he was gone. And when I looked back, he was on the ground. I guess I don't know, what did you do? You just slid?
I could ski like a champ. I just couldn't stand there.
I was laughing so hard I almost missed the ski lift when it came around. But anyway, on that trip, we got to we ended up spending most of our time with each other for some reason. I don't know. We just kind of hung out, and he helped me out with the skiing and all that kind of stuff. And at night we would hang out and do stuff. And so on the drive back, a couple of times he had wanted to hold my hand, or I'd wanted to hold his hand, but I said, I can't. I still have a boyfriend at home I need to deal with, and when I get back, I'll deal with that. And I guess you probably thought I was using that as an excuse not to hold your hand.
Like always.
So on the drive back, it was another long drive back, but it was funny because Krista and Andy were a couple, and Andy was a friend of Bo's and Krista was a friend of mine. We were kind of all four friends, but Andy was talking to me a lot about how I should date Bo and break up with my boyfriend and date Bo and blah, blah, blah. And Krista and Bo were talking a lot. I don't know about what. And so I started getting kind of jealous and mad, thinking that Bo was liking Krista. And I found out later Bo was getting mad because he thought Andy was putting the moves on me, but really Krista and Andy were working on us to try to get us together. So anyway, I get home and school's back in session. I go back to Hattiesburg. I see my boyfriend at the time for the first time in two or 3 weeks. And I don't even remember. I just said, because we hadn't been dating that long before the break, but I just was like, hey, I don't think it's going to work out. And then that night I called Bo. I do remember this. I was in my dorm room and I called Bo and I said, hey, I broke up with Will. And he said, really? And I said, yeah. And we talked for like 4 or 5 hours that night. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of went from there.
Do you also remember that trip was during our Christmas break of 95 into 96? But do you remember, so before the trip actually happened, you and I hung out in Jackson for about a week or so before that, like buying, I know we rented skis and all that, but we bought like the ski suits and we bought like whatever. So we would go together and buy stuff for the trip. Do you remember all that part?
No, I don't remember a lot of that. I just remember the trip. Like I said, it just flashes of memories, like the dying on the mountain and then you falling down and then the trip back, us talking and stuff. Those are the main core memories that I have of that trip.
Well, we had this moment before the trip where you were dating Will still, and I don't even know. I don't think I was dating anybody at the time. But do you remember in my driveway, we made this pact that if neither one of us were married by the time we were 30, we would marry each other? Yeah,
you even printed it out in your little archaic printer thing. I printed
it out and we both signed it.
I think I still have that somewhere. I think it's in one of my boxes of all the letters you used to write me. Yeah. But yeah, it was an official contract we both signed that if we weren't married to other people by the time we were 30, we would find each other and marry each other.
And the other thing I remember about that trip is that was the first, I mean, this has nothing to do with us together, but that was the first time I ever like got pneumonia and bronchitis and all that stuff, like as bad as I did. I remember Dr. Sheffield, who was our teacher at the time, our adult leader at the time. So he was on the trip with us. So I had developed pneumonia and bronchitis and all this other stuff. And so he helped me through that. But that messed up my lungs to the point that for years, even probably to this day, but for several years after that, I had lung issues. And we'll talk about this, I'm sure, later. But on the trip that I made to Florida, when I proposed to you, that pneumonia and bronchitis raised its ugly head on that trip too. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I do remember that.
But it started on this Colorado trip. But yeah, so that was the first time and the last time I've ever been snow skiing.
I don't think we could do it now. We're too old.
Yeah, I'm definitely too old to do it now, but it was a lot of fun and we caught on pretty quick and we had a good time. And Colorado is a beautiful, beautiful place.
It was really pretty. And then my mom wants to tell y'all about when I called home one time during that trip. I don't remember the conversation, but she does. And she is going to tell you guys what she and my dad thought about my news about what was going on our trip.
The one memory I have, and I know it's correct, is the one trepidation you had about going on that ski trip was Bo was going to be there. But you went anyway. And you called, I think it was the day y'all were coming down from the mountain, and I don't know if it was slick from ice or snow. Anyway, you called to let us know you were going to be late. because of the road conditions. But it was okay because Bo was driving. And Mom, he's such a good driver. You ought to see him. Mom's freaking out because you're telling her the roads are bad and it's curvy and mountainous and everything else. But Bo is driving and everything's good. I hung up the phone. And when I saw your dad later, I told him about the phone call. And I said, she is going to marry that boy. He said, no, she isn't. She won't have anything to do with him. I said, she's going to marry that boy. You didn't hear the tone in her voice when she was talking about what a great driver he was getting them down that mountain in all that bad weather. And once again, I was correct because she married that boy.
So then after all of that, we got back. And like I said, I got back to school, broke up with my boyfriend called Bo. We talked for several hours. And the next few years were kind of interesting because where I was going to school and where Bo lived was about an hour and a half away from each other. And he was working at the airport at the time. And, of course, I had my classes and stuff and lived on campus. And I would try to go home every weekend. And so I would go to Jackson as much as I could. And then during the week, sometimes he would just surprise me by showing up at the dorm during the middle of the week. And so what he would do is, well, you tell what you would do to be able to come see me in the afternoons.
Yeah, so my schedule, I worked at the airport in Jackson, Mississippi, and my schedule was 5:30 in the morning till like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I would, on like Monday, I would work 5:30 to 1, get off work, drive to Hattiesburg. So I would be there about 3:30 or 4. We would eat dinner, hang out, whatever, and I would stay there till probably 10 or 11 at night, drive home, get home at 2 o'clock in the morning, enough to get like 2 hours of sleep, get up, go to work on Tuesday, leave, go to Hattiesburg on Tuesday, do the same. And I would do that probably 3 or 4 nights a week until I couldn't function anymore. And then it'd be weekend time, so you'd come see me or whatever. But yeah, we did that for like, what was it, 2 years? I think I started.
Well, let's see. That was 90. It must have been a year because you started William Carey my last year. So that was January of 96. I want to say fall of 96, or was it winter of 97 you started at William Carey? Anyway, within a year or so, he
went to your college.
Started going to William Carey he realized they had a graphic design, right? You were doing graphic design there?
I was doing graphic design and whatever religious studies or whatever they called it.
Yeah. So he came and lived on campus with me and, well, not with me. I mean, obviously it was a small Baptist college, so he wasn't even allowed in my dorm room, barely allowed in the lobby, only in certain hours. So
it was me and Damon Patrick. He was the coolest roommate I think I could have ever had.
Yeah, we still talk to him now too, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
We're
yeah,
friends
still
on
keep
Facebook.
Up with him. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like, I remember our days that we would hang out with Jason Cadden and Todd Cole and.
Well, we're skipping ahead. We'll talk about all that on future episodes.
Well, fine. Anyway, we just had a lot of fun. And then.
But it all started in Colorado.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say about Colorado?
Nope. I'm just glad I didn't die on that hill because you were going to let me.
That was not.
You were.
You almost let me die on top of the hill at the
ski lift.
Ski lift.
That's. I still have that. I can still play that in my head.
Oh yeah, we got to tell this story too. So
about the ribs.
Yeah, the ribs.
We can't tell the story about the ribs.
Why?
Because it's mean.
We absolutely can.
No, I'm not going to be mean toward your mom on this podcast.
So. We go to this place to eat in Colorado, and it was a barbecue place. So we walk in, and we sit down, and we look at the menu, and they had everything you could think of from the barbecue genre, but they had a special note by their ribs, and that note said, "These
tender
ribs,
as your mama's loving.
These ribs are as tender as your mama's loving." I like a good rib, so I was like, okay, I'm getting the ribs. And did you get them?
I did get well, I either got the ribs or you let me have one of yours, but either way, I realized.
Yeah, we got ribs and bit into those ribs.
Oh my God, they were awful.
A pack of coyotes could not pull the meat off of those bones.
It was like chewing on the bottom of a shoe.
It was so, And so we both looked at each other about the same time and we said, man, that guy's right. They are as tender as your mom's loving towards each other's moms as a joke.
As a joke. Bless their hearts.
But yeah, so that was funny. And do you remember?
So we still to this day, anytime we go somewhere and they have ribs and we look at each other and we say, I wonder if they're going to be tender as your mama's loving.
Mm-hmm. Do you also remember the episode in Dumas, Texas?
Oh, yeah, where Dr. Sheffield hit a cop or cop hit Dr. Sheffield.
Yeah, so mind you, I said earlier, we were in the middle of like a blizzard, like the big blizzard of 96. And we were on our way home and we stopped in this place called Dumas, Texas, Dumas, Dumas, Texas. We stopped for breakfast at this local place. And on the way out, we all get in this van that we're riding in, and the parking lot, think of the parking lot, you have one row of cars and right behind that's the other row of cars. So if two people were to back out at the same time, they would hit each other. So Dr. Sheffield, he's driving the van and he starts to back up. Well, on the other side of him, this car starts to back up at the same time. The problem is this car has been sitting there for overnight, so it's caked with ice, caked with everything. So they hit each other. The guy gets out of the car, comes over to Dr. Sheffield. The guy that hit him was a cop and basically writes our bus a ticket, writes Dr. Sheffield a ticket for not paying attention. When we all looked at the guy's car and said, if this happened, how are you not at fault? Because, the guy's rear view mirrors were iced over. His back windshield was iced over. Everything on his car was iced over. So they hit. He writes Dr. Sheffield a ticket. Didn't take any kind of responsibility for it. So, of course, we have probably 15 or 20 people there that witnessed the whole thing, and none of our.
I wonder if he ever had to pay that ticket.
I'm sure he did, but nothing, like, he wouldn't take any of our testimony in consideration. It was 100% Dr. Sheffield's fault, not his fault. So from that point on, we started calling it Dumbass Texas because the guy was completely a dumbass. And
because Dr. Sheffield was one of the nicest people you would ever.
100%.
He was my dad's doctor when he was going through all his stuff, and he was that was when healthcare was good, when the doctor would come see you in the hospital and he followed you. And I remember he would come when Dad was in the hospital. Sometimes he would come at 9 or 10 o'clock at night and round on Dad just to make sure he was doing okay, and knowing he had to be back in the clinic at 7 the next morning. So he was I love Dr. Sheffield. Yeah.
And one more thing I want to point out that I thought was pretty funny. Do you remember when we were driving to Colorado? This was probably 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm driving. You're sitting in the passenger seat. Everybody else is asleep on the van. And I wanted to play this game.
The train truck game?
Yeah. It was
I do remember that.
It was the truck versus car game. So I told Heather, I said, pick one, either trucks or cars. And every time you see one, you get a point. And every time I see one. So I said, you pick, do you want to be trucks or cars? And she was like, duh, obviously I want to be trucks because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. You're going to see more trucks than cars. So sure enough, we go down the road and she's like, truck 1, truck 2, truck 3. So she's feeling confident. And I'm like, okay, every once in a while there's a car. So it was 10-0. So I finally see a car. So I get my point. Well, all of a sudden a train comes by and I said, look, there's a car, there's a car, there's a car, there's a car. And she quit playing. She didn't want to play anymore.
You were cheating.
That wasn't cheating.
That's a train. That's not a car. A car has 4 wheels.
Exactly.
4 doors.
What do trains pull? They pull cars.
Those are not wheels.
Yes.
No, they're not.
All right. So here's what I want people to do.
Oh my gosh.
I want, if you're listening to this and you care
think Bo's a cheater.
And I would like to know, how many people think that what trains pull are cars?
But if you're doing a truck versus car game, that doesn't
I did not
count.
Specify what kind of car. I just said, do you want trucks or cars?
This is my life.
So this should have been a hint, but so she quit playing. So which leads into future episodes of like when we play chess together or whatever. If she starts losing, she throws the board down and like knocks all the
Thanks
pieces
for
off.
joining us, guys. We'll talk to you next week on our next podcast. Y'all have a great week. Bye.
I just thought I'd bring that up. So I love you.
Bye.
Bye. That's it for today's episode of Loving Our 25 to Life. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found something to take with you on your own journey.
Remember, love is an adventure. Sometimes it's wild, sometimes it's calm, but it's always worth it.
Yes!
If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who might need a little inspiration.
And don't forget to follow along for more episodes and vlogs documenting our travels, life lessons, and hopefully plenty of laughs.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep loving life because it is the greatest adventure of all. Bye for now.
Bye.